follow-up to the other video I put up on no compost piles for me. Here's another way of doing it, and I also do it this way. As I showed before, I'll go through quickly. I use shredded paper, like what your mail is, kitchen scraps, everything, banana peels, coffee grinds, eggshells. Just dump it in. Oh, and even toilet paper rolls. Yes, I made the shirt. I need pockets all the time. Toilet paper rolls. Anything that really can break down, you want to do this. Now, here's the thing. Some people think you've got to build this and plant right away. I also add a little bit of native soil. Any native soil. Even sweep your floors, sweep around your deck, your steps, and throw it in there. It's all soil. Now, what I wanted to say is you can do this by every day. You could put in stuff every couple days. You could slowly build this and you don't have to plant in it right away. Here's what I do. As soon as you put something in it, start to water it. Here's the one I did in the other video, and I don't have anything planted in it. The perfect thing to do is as you're breaking down and as you're making your compost, put your pots in there. Just sit them in there. If you want, you don't ever have to plant in here. You water your plants, it will water the compost. If you've had these sitting on the ground anywhere, you will have earthworms. They come to the wet pots, they'll already be inside, and they'll multiply in your compost. Just sit them in the tub, just like I did here. Here's some collard, kale, I think there's a little oregano in there, or celery. And if you wanted to, you don't ever have to plant in your compost. You could keep adding and adding. It will break down. Just lift your pot up, dump in whatever you want to dump in. Kitchen scraps, some scrap papers, toilet paper rolls, whatever you want. A little bit, sprinkle in a couple handfuls of native soil you've got around. You don't have it. If you're living in a concrete jungle, go to your neighbors and grab a couple handfuls. Just throw it in there and then put your pots back in there and water your pots. By watering your pots like normal plants, it will break the compost down. It will take weeks and weeks and weeks. I don't know how much you've got to build this up. If you ever get it to the top, you could stop and start another tub. You do not ever have to use the compost to plant in if you want. These plants will send out feeder roots, and their feeder roots will go into the compost. They will get huge. I've got some Swiss chard that are the size of elephant ears, and they're in a pot that's half the size of this because they've sent out feeder roots into the compost set up just like this. So that's another way of doing it. This way you don't have to worry like, oh my goodness, it's full, what am I going to do? This will continue to break down and flatten down. So just set up pots. And if you don't have pots, look at this. You can use anything for pots. There's walking onions in here, and this is just a milk container. So make your own pots and put a whole bunch of pots in there, because as the pots sit in there, this is a cover for your compost and it's keeping it damp. Your pots will love it, your plants will love it that are in the pots, and the compost will love it. And the microbes and everything will start breaking everything down, and they will send their feeder roots down. So that's just another way of doing it. And this way you can continue to compost all year round, and you don't ever have to use it. Now, if it breaks down enough and you want to use it, remove your pots, take the compost out, put it in other containers, or plant straight into it, whatever you want to do. Or don't ever plant in it. Just put your pots there, and it's constantly feeding. The other thing I wanted to show is I use everything. Let's go over here real quick. See, I don't put holes on the bottom of my containers. My containers, I put the holes up, so it's always damp in there, so it won't dry out. When you water the containers, I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but see the water comes out? Put some more containers down there, because when you put the containers down here, this is walking onions, you're feeding those containers where the water is coming out of this wonderful compost. So you will get triple duty on all this. Notice this. This was my compost in here. And see, there's all these pots. You don't need to plant anything in your compost. You can layer your compost in pots. Here is a bigger pot with a smaller pot. Look how beautiful that is. They send feeder roots down. Let me see if I can show you. See the little roots and see the worm? The plants will send feeder roots down into the compost. Let's walk over here really quick. All these have pots. There's pots in here in my compost. And then I want to show you here. Look at this. Look at this Swiss chard. Look at the leaves in this tiny, tiny pot. Look at the trunk on it. This too has set roots into the compost, and yet I continue to compost right here. No turning, no piles, no nothing. All you need is any pot. It could be any pot. And see the bottom's got holes? This one's got good holes. But any pot, I'll throw that in there so you can see it. Any pot that's got holes in it will work. To compost, I don't put my holes on the very bottom of my compost tubs. But when it comes to the pots that I'm putting in there, yes, you want the holes on the very bottom. So this way earthworms will travel back and forth into the pots and into the compost. You water your pots and it keeps your compost wet and all the microbes and everything grow. You have to think of your compost as another plant. You have to take care of it. You let your compost dry out one time, it's like a plant. Everything is dead. Any earthworms you've had in there, any microbes you've had in there, everything will be dead. The compost will consist of anything that will break down. Paper, kitchen scraps, which is food, leaves from your garden, from your neighbor's garden, anybody's garden, just green leaves, brown leaves, twigs, anything. Clean up the yard, throw it in your compost, and just layer it. Whatever you got, you throw it in there. It works. But that's another way you can have multiple containers. You can pick up these containers at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. They're cheap. I get them at the thrift store. Well, I was getting them there. I was getting them for a few bucks. Now they think people are coming in like me and buying them, so they raise the price to $10. That's more than the hardware stores. So anyways, get some containers, set them up, and even if you live in a concrete jungle, this is perfect. Don't drill your holes on the bottom unless you want to. I prefer not to. This works better for me. I've got containers all over the yard and it works. So I hope, this helps people out, and try it. See if you like it. You don't like it, you have really not much to lose. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow.